So, David, I know that you love to talk about yourself.
Endlessly.
That's
why we started a podcast.
That's the whole reason. We realized we weren't being prompted to talk about ourselves enough.
Yeah.
And so, do you recall a few months ago, I wrote a press release to get some press, and you were like, I'm not sure that's the way to do it, but hey, I wrote a press release with a really catchy subject line, something like "We 69 and nobody cares." And guess what? Somebody did care.
Our listener.
It's
a listener. And they run the KNON Lambda Weekly radio show in Texas. Yep. And they invited us to be on their show. So
because they care that we hit 69 episodes. So it was so fun, actually, to talk to a couple of guys who have been running a very long-term, history-making radio show. We thought we would share this radio episode with you where we were the interviewees, not the interviewers.
The one thing I want to say is that because of the way the format, they were in their studio on their beautiful mics. We had to call in on our iPhones. So we sound like a bunch of fucking assholes driving a Buick LeSabre. But just know that was the way
I was sitting in a Buick LeSabre in a parking lot during a soccer game because I might add, we had to record this on a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. And I was thrilled to be there, but I was in a car the whole time.
Anyway, so without further ado, aka Gavin's Endless Stories, let's play it. We'll play it for you. Yeah. It's the whole hour. That's going to be our little special episode this week. We want to thank David Taffet and Lerone Landis for inviting us on the show. And
thanks, guys.
Here it is.
And good afternoon and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. Patty has the weekend off. She's celebrating my birthday.
And it is David's birthday indeed, so happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I was at my aunt's house in Florida this week, and she got me a cake that said, Happy 49th birthday, David.
That's so sweet of her.
Uh-huh. So, our guests today are David F.M. Vaughn and Gavin Lodge. They are gay besties who are the podcasters of a podcast called The Gaytriarchs. They sent a press release that I had gotten earlier this summer, and it said... the Gaytriarchs podcast records its 69th episode, and nobody really cares. Well, we do. So welcome.
So glad that you cared about our demeaning sense of humor there to just get anybody's attention with a press release. But it worked.
It does work. It does work. What I liked about your style was... you describe yourselves as irreverent, inspirational, and accidentally informative. And I said, they'd fit in our show perfectly.
You really would.
Glad to hear it.
We make it a point to try every episode not to be helpful whatsoever. Sometimes we fail at that, but in general, we aim to be totally forgettable.
So how did you all come up with the name Gaytriarchs? It's not matriarchs or patriarchs. It's Gaytriarchs.
Exactly. Yeah, my husband actually came up with it. This is, radio though, who's talking.
Right.
Initially when I came up with the idea, I had many very, very terrible ideas, and my very smart marketing husband was like, "Well, what about Gaytriarchs?" And it was like, "Oh yeah, that's for sure."
Yeah, that was a very quick discussion. I mean, David and I agree on nothing, but we definitely thought that Gaytriarchs was a name that we could settle on peacefully. So and thank God, David married up to a much more creative and funny husband. And hope you're listening here, Brian. By the way, shout out.
Well, if he isn't, he can listen to our podcast, which is on KNON.org. Your podcasts are in the same place that you find podcasts for Barack Obama. I'm impressed.
That's exactly right. I mean, we have the lowest common denominator of humor, but the highest common denominator of podcast hosts. Yes. And may I just add that David is really the mind behind all of this. He called me one time and was just like, hey, I think we should just like do a podcast and make it funny and complain about our kids. What do you think? And I was like, I'm down as long as I don't have to do any work. So I'll let David tell some more of our origin story right there, too.
Okay, David.
Yeah. Obviously, Gavin is excellent at teeing me up for things, as you can hear. No, but when I became a gay dad, really when I became a dad, I was gay since, Ty Pennington.
So you weren't a straight guy who's decided to become a gay dad?
You what?
You were not a straight guy who decided to become a gay dad?
Well, I'm still flirting with the idea of straightness, but it hasn't yet.
Okay.
When I became a dad, I just felt like all of a sudden the world expected something very different from me. They expected me to just be in love with being a dad, and the rest of my identity just totally disappeared. And I looked at like gay dads online, and they were all rich, they all had six-pack abs, and they all could afford these super high-end photo shoots every couple of months on the shores of Malibu. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not the experience I'm having. Let me try to find some funny gay dad content, either in media or a podcast or whatever. And it just flat out did not exist. There was a couple gay dads in the podcasting world, but it was all very serious. It was about, surrogacy and IVF and all that stuff. And I was like, can we just laugh at each other? Can we curse? Can we talk about sex? Can we talk about our lives, dreams, and hopes, and also talk about how parenting is cool or not cool? And so I was like, what? Make it big like that. Let's make a show that is comedy first. I say this to Gavin every time we're working on every episode. It's like, what is the funny angle on this? We don't need to change lives. We hope to never change anyone's lives. We just hope people laugh for about 45 minutes a week.
Well,
that is, if I may jump in there, it's completely true that David does do a really good job of saying to me, now wait, Gavin, do you have anything funny to bring to the show? And I have to say, but David, I'm tall, so...
Yeah. We always say, like, I'm funny and Gavin is tall. So there you go.
Gotcha.
So I will say, then on that line, though, of what the genesis behind all of this is we're all just... It's tough for everybody's mental health, frankly, to see the fabulosity that is so often gay dads out there, or just parenting in general, where everybody's like, parenting life should be a Pottery Barn catalog photo shoot, and everybody should look amazing, and let's pretend that parenting is just glamorous all the time. And it's demoralizing to see that all the time. So we'd love to be able to come together and complain about our kids, frankly. And listen, let me make the disclaimer, should anybody take this out of context. I love my kids more than oxygen, and I think David loves at least one of his kids more than oxygen. The other is questionable. But but it feels really good to know that you're not alone in sometimes really being bored out of your effing gourd as a parent and be frustrated and fighting with your kids and just, oh my God, why did I do this? Except, of course, nobody has any regrets about parenting. But boy, it feels good to just kvetch and complain about them.
So you each have 2 kids?
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah. We both.
Yeah, and that's enough, and that's it. That's it from us. There you go. We both have. I'm the senior member of the Gaytriarchs team, as David never lets anybody forget. Although I'm just a mere couple of years older, but anyway, I have oh my God, how old are they? 11. Okay, they're 11 and 12. Oh, geez. I mean, there's parenting right there, right? Like, I can't even remember what their ages are anymore, but 11 and soon to be 13-year-olds. So I've been flirting with the tweenhood for a very long time already, and knowing that my daughter is going to be officially a teenager, and I'm like, oh my God, when are these years going to be over? And also, I happen to be sitting at my son's soccer game watching him play up instead of defense like he usually does. So, there's parenting in a nutshell there.
And my kids are 5 and 2, so I'm on the other side of the spectrum. So we kind of cover a nice range of ages.
So did you all become friends before you all had kids or afterwards?
Well, it's funny. Gavin and I joke all the time. We don't really know each other at all. we both come from the performing world, specifically, Broadway musical theater, and We had known of each other through other friends. We'd kind of seen each other at auditions through the years. We had never done a show together. And I think Dave and I had said we've met twice in person, once for like a lunch just to hang out. And another time he had auditioned for a show I was directing. And so when I told him, I think he was a little surprised. And I was like, yeah, you want to do this? And we have since gotten to know each other really well over the podcast. But those first 10, 20 episodes, I barely knew his kid's name, let alone his name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, agreed entirely. And we have mutual friends who brought us together. And the Broadway community is actually pretty small. But yeah, we became friends through podcasting, really.
Well, it's interesting because I'm a gay dad. And I totally related what you just said earlier that, not all gay dads have six-pack abs and can afford a high-end photo shoot every other month. That's completely me.
Lerone used to.
Used to, but, having a baby.
When he was pregnant.
It ruins your figure. And so, but, the interesting thing about you all having a podcast about this is, I don't know if you found this, but being a gay dad is somewhat isolating because most of your friends, your other gay friends, do not have children, and trying to fit into other circles or spaces of parents is not always, I don't want to say welcoming. Sometimes it's not welcoming, but it's just not the same. But at least you have each other to bounce your issues off of. I mean, has that been the case?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I personally, I didn't necessarily find that gay friends didn't want to hang out, but I would say that you're in a different circle of friendship. That's for sure, because you're suddenly finding yourself in friendships with people on the playground, whatever their identities may be. But it is true that you got to say no to being able to hit the club. Not that I ever really hit the club, but you're in a completely different lifestyle. And so friends without kids, be they gay or straight, are living a different life. And that cliche becomes true that you can't. Sorry, I can't go out tonight because I have to be up early with the kids.
Right.
I actually had a very close gay friend. Like, we're talking like if I had my friend search top five gay friends, and he, I was excited to tell him that we were pregnant for the first time. And as soon as I told him, the first words out of his mouth was, "Oh no!" I said, "What?" And he goes, "We're never going to hang out anymore." And he wasn't being funny. He was anticipating me being busy, and I think also the cultural change that you were just talking about of gay culture is very much not, child culture, kind of separating us. And I have very much experienced that. And some of it is on us, right, as parents. We are too busy. We get too tired to reach out to people. But I think some of it is on the people who are childless, not thinking that we can still go out or hang out. We just maybe need more than 5 seconds heads up before we take lunch. And
absolutely.
Like, we need a little bit of time to settle up with a sitter. But I am so thankful to friends who reach out and say, "Hey, do you want to hang out this weekend?" I'm like, yes. Let me just get a sitter, and I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You just give us a little time to prepare, and we can usually do it. If that means getting a babysitter or one partner staying home and the other one going out to have some free time, that's what it means. But we can usually do things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're both married?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it a yes or no?
I've actually, funny enough, what he's referring to is I've been with my partner for 20 years, and admittedly, when we were on our baby moon, when my first child was in utero, we went through surrogacy. I did actually pop the question to my partner to say, "Hey, let's seal the deal." And then, honestly, we got distracted. And for 10 years now, I suppose we kind of tap dance around the topic. This is absolutely sharing way too much dirty laundry. But we sometimes, we're kind of watching some of our friends get divorced. And occasionally, also, I live in New England. And in New England, you just don't discuss tough topics. You just kind of sweep it under the rug and you keep living your life. And I have to say, it works for us. We have put all of the financial necessities in place to make sure that both kids are completely covered. We are civil. What's it called? Civil
united.
Thank you. Whatever it is, from the great state of New York on some certificate, but we've just never gone about having a big ass party, inviting all of our friends, which I kind of do. I hope we get to do that at some point, so it's just not my funeral that something like that happens. But anyway, to each his own, and I happen not to be married, but David actually is.
And one reason I ask is that when Lerone was talking about having a kid, Patty and I, we don't have the parenting genes at all. But one thing that we knew was that Danny and Lerone needed to get married. Now, this was before marriage equality. Gabriella's 15. And
we got married 2 years before she was born.
So they had to go to Canada to get married. But we were absolutely adamant that he was not going to have a little bastard.
And well, I mean, it seems like you kind of dodged that, but let me tell you, I definitely have a little bastard.
Literally or figuratively?
Well, I mean, listen, sister, you want to complain about your kids and call them names, you just come on our podcast and pull up a seat with us for sure.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, sometimes everybody's a little bastard, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not Gabrielle. She's perfect.
No.
You both went through surrogacy?
Yeah.
Why did you choose that method rather than adoption or?
Yeah. I think this is like for every gay parent. It's this huge, the first of many giant monumental decisions you have to make very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know anything about how to become dads. So we, like a lot of dads, went to one of those men having babies conferences where you can kind of spend the weekend, taking classes and meeting with other gay dads. And they always have people from egg donation agencies and adoption agencies there. And the thing we learned very quickly from that weekend was, surrogacy is very expensive. And we thought, I don't know, a couple bucks. And they were like, average between $150,000 and $200,000 for a kid. And we were just like, no, that's for sure not in our plan. And we had always considered adoption anyway. This was around about the time we were getting married. And my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, came into town. And we were talking about it with her, and she was like, well, I'll carry your baby. And we were like, haha, like every straight woman in my life says that, right? They all say, you're not married, that's fine. I'll have your baby or whatever. And so we kind of laughed it off, and then we had the wedding. And then afterwards, before we had decided to kind of move to adoption, I said to my husband, I was like, should we check and see if she was serious about that? Because, that can't be serious. And she's like, I don't know, let's ask. And so we asked her, and she said, yeah. And we were like, okay, well, what do we have to have a conversation? She's like, no, let's do it. And we talked to my husband, and her husband was super interested in it and very happy to do it. And so my sister-in-law carried for our first pregnancy and gave birth to my now 5-year-old son. And she helped make it possible because she had surrogacy-friendly insurance, and, we didn't pay her, and we had to do a whole bunch of different other things. So we got out of the first one in a way where we could afford it. And then for our second, we kind of went the traditional route with a surrogate we didn't know, but we had saved enough from the first one to do the second one. So we were very, very fortunate because of the cost. But that was the deciding factor, was my sister-in-law saying, I'll do it.
Nice.
I love that story of you being able to keep it in the family. Mine is a little different situation where my mom was a much more financially responsible person than I have, as I was living the high life of pretending that I was a rich artist in New York and was anything but that. And unfortunately, she passed away. But luckily, she, like I said, she was financially much savvier than I was. And so I got a bit of an inheritance that I wasn't expecting. And that was able to grant my partner and I the money for surrogacy. And so I had no problem spending that money because it's kind of it's a full circle moment. And I have to say, as an only child of a single mother, of course, that was a profound loss for me. But I feel like my kids are a representation of her. And so the gift keeps on giving. And the funny part is also, I suppose, that you think, well, once you get through that cost, everything's easy. But then you're like, no, it's an exponential cost of your life.
Yep.
And now we just live hand to mouth with rice and beans constantly with my two fancy designer children,
Hey, I say it's money well spent.
Yeah.
Can't put a price on that, so that's awesome.
I can.
Well, somebody's got to hand their credit card over. So.
Right.
And, Gavin's story is actually super beautiful, and I agree that his children are a direct link to his mother. But we just putting it out there for those of you who are going to listen after this interview, we try never to be kind or earnest or sweet or helpful ever on the show. So this is it.
Yeah, this is a constant dilemma between the two of us because I have no wallet and David has absolutely no heart. So he is quick to make fun of my age and my poorness and everything. But it's true. That said, we both happen to be surrogacy guys, but or happen to have been, whatever. I don't think that's a label we can really put on ourselves. But anyway, we have talked on our podcast with people who have adopted and with people who have married into a family. Or then also, per your earlier jokes, we've talked to a lot of dads who came out during marriage to a woman and were like, never mind, not so much for me. But in every case, I don't know. It isn't, thank God, the 1960s. And in each case, I think we talked to really happy men and obviously women. We've talked to a lot of straight men and women and lesbians and gay dads, all of whom are thrilled to be parents and thrilled to complain about parenthood with us.
I'm surprised personally, and then now it's reflected in the data of all these interviews we've done, how much the origin of your child doesn't matter once they're in your life. I was so excited to do surrogacy because I thought a biological connection would be imperative for me to really, 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 really love this child. I knew I'd love them. I knew to protect them. But I thought there's going to be something missing if I am not biologically connected to them. And I can tell you from my point of view, I think Gavin can agree with this, as well as almost every guest we've ever had on the show. I don't think about their biological origin when it comes to my love and how I feel about them for a single second. I don't think, my son is biologically related to me, my daughter is not. I never, ever consider that, ever, unless there's some sort of medical issue. I have to think about it. But other than that, and that's been a surprise to me for people who've adopted or had their own biological children. It's fascinating.
Now, I would actually defer. I'm going to push back on that because I definitely I think about my kids' biology all the time. My daughter is biologically mine. My son is biologically my partner's. And listen, when my daughter is being a jerk, she is absolutely not mine. And when my son is an angel, he is absolutely mine. So I think about their biology all the time in terms of their jerk-waddiness.
We need to take a break. We're talking to David Vaughn and Gavin Lodge. They are the Gaytriarchs, which is a podcast on gay parenting. We'll be back with more Lambda Weekly right after this.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose AmeriCorps.
For more information, AmeriCorps.gov.
This year's election will have a lasting impact on our country. Make sure to register to vote. Voter registration in Texas ends on Monday, October 7th. Texans will vote for president, Texas state representative, Texas senator, and more. Get information on voting in Texas at votetexas.gov or 800-252-VOTE. This message brought to you by KNON and the law office of K.R. Wittenberg.
Hi, this is Patty Fink, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And this is Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. Patty will be back with us next week. We are talking to the Gaytriarchs, David Vaughn and Gavin Lodge.
So, one of the beautiful things about when same-sex couples have kids is that they're not accidents. And obviously, we go through all kinds of hoops to get a kid, whether it be adoption, surrogacy, the financial hurdle, the emotional hurdle, and sometimes the physical hurdle. But it's a long conversation. It's a serious conversation to take. You just don't jump into it and, tomorrow we're just going to go have a baby. No, it doesn't happen like that. But I'm wondering if you all, so when my husband and I decided to have a kid, we knew what we were getting into. We have a lot of nephews and nieces that we help, kind of raise in some, in parts of their lives. But what about you all? Were you, is fatherhood what you thought it was going to be, or were there some big surprises after you had kids?
I would say that parenthood in the early stages is so much harder and so much more mind-numbingly boring than I ever could have imagined. I mean, it isn't a joke to say when you're in the midst of it, you understand why people don't treat babies well. And that is obviously not to say that my kids weren't treated well. Obviously, wow, I needed to backpedal that. But just that it is so tough, and that honestly, I frankly love being able to say parenting is not for wusses, and it is not for sissies, and I mean that in the old school kind of way. But at the same time, I was really ready to be a dad, and while it was, shocking sometimes how hard it was, it was everything I wanted it to be at the same time. And the good certainly outweighs the bad. But also it's tough. So we all need to come together and complain about it and listen to Gaytriarchs.
I think if I think about was I prepared, I had never changed a diaper before I had my kids.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't think I was prepared. I mean, I had, I read books and I took a class and I maybe watched a TikTok or two, but I really wasn't prepared. And I can say after having, a 5 and 2 year old now, that I think everyone understands the concept of parenting and what it's like. I really do. Non-parents totally understand it except for only one thing. And I think that thing they can never understand until they're there is what 24 hours a day, 7 days a week feels like for anything, for sleep deprivation, for love, for having that part of your brain running all the time. For being pooped on and vomited on time and time again. And how there is one partner who will gag through that process and the other partner who's like, okay, I guess I'm the poop and vomit guy. But that's what I mean is that I think non-parents can understand what a disgusting diaper feels like. They don't understand what a disgusting diaper feels like 3 times a day for fucking years. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to curse. For years. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are on FM radio.
I'm so sorry. It's NSFW on our podcast. It is not here. I apologize to all the listeners. But here's the other thing I wanted to say. You were saying you have to be very deliberate, which is part of what I think is the gay superpower, right? Is that we have to deliberately decide all the things to get married, to be together, what our relationship model is, if we're going to have kids, how we're going to have kids. It can't just be a 6-pack of Miller Lite at a Carrie Underwood concert like straight people do it. We have to actually really think about this ahead of time. And so that is, I think, honestly, a superpower for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 snaps to that.
I remember looking back when my daughter was born, we left the hospital. She was born in another state, so we had to drive, across country to get back home in the car with a newborn. And at the time, we were stressed and, you want to make sure everything's okay, but you're really not thinking about it. Your brain is just focused on the moment. But looking back, it's I can't believe we did that. I don't know if I could ever do that again. And that's part of the being vomited on, being pooped on, being peed on. You're just, you don't have time to freak out about it. You're just in the moment. You got to deal with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do think that, hey, everybody has their superpower as a parent, but once in a while, David and I do like to lean in the fact that gays make great parents because we have had to be so methodical and intellectual about so many decisions we've made in our lives. We know how to not panic and just stop and think, I got to solve a problem here. And so I'm going to solve that problem and be a great dad.
Yep.
Do you get the mom thing? And by that, I mean, Lerone gets this every year where people will say to him, Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, the rest of the world just doesn't know how to deal with that. But it's such a rite of passage for gay dads. I feel like I've seen on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok a million times where new dads complain. They clutch their pearls about how offended they are that somebody says to them, "Oh, is it mom's night off?" or "Dad babysitting, huh?" or "Where's the mom?" or whatever. And I think that's something we all just kind of need to make peace with, because of course people are going to make assumptions, and they want to fawn over the babies, and it's just a rite of passage. But it's in our hands to be able to, catch and correct and say, nope, actually, I'm a gay dad, or nope, it's not mom's night off because there is not a mom in the situation, or dads aren't babysitters, dads are dads, and I happen to be a gay one, and it's up to us to change that narrative.
It's also, I think, easy. Like, first of all, from our point of view, we just have to accept that most people have moms, and that's a reasonable assumption people make. And then, like Gavin said, just a quick correction. But we always do the Mother's Day thing with we have a ton of mothers in our lives we want to celebrate. Their obvious ones are their grandmothers, but there's aunts and nieces, and so we just. It seems so easy to us when we do it, when they're like, "Oh, we're doing a daycare." We'll call, and they're holding their hat in their hand, and they're very nervous, and they lower their voice, and they're like, "So Mother's Day is coming, and we know you guys are," and they dot it, and we're like, "Girl, just relax. It's not a big deal. We do the Mother's Day craft, and we will give it to Grandma, or put Happy Mother's Day, Grandma," or something like that. And so we find that to be the best way, and our kids don't even think. They go, "Oh yeah, Mother's Day are for girl parents," and we celebrate those people.
Yep.
And you celebrate Father's Day.
Unfortunately, though, I was just going to say, unfortunately, David and I have commiserated over the fact that we also get shortchanged and screwed out of Father's Day, because nobody gets to take the day off. So it's just another day, and hopefully you have a little extra kiss in the morning. You're like, "Happy Father's Day," and then you both just get on the treadmill like the other 364 days of the year.
Wow. I can see your point of view about the assumption thing, but I'm not going to lie, it's kind of annoying. Most people do have mothers, or most people have a mother and a father. But when you're out in public, that doesn't mean this is me personally. I don't think people always need to verbalize that assumption. Why a stranger going up to another stranger and just saying something like, why did you need to say that? But most people.
I would like you to say that to my son too, who likes to point out people's bodies very loudly and things like, "Why doesn't he have a leg?" And so I'm like, "Oh no, oh my God!" So could you give my son a call and please explain him?
Gladly.
Ask people, yeah.
But I'm also really impressed that you have that sense of injustice in Texas. That's fantastic, because I live in super liberal Connecticut, and David is in super blue state New Jersey, and it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Everybody assumes, but that's what our society is still.
Yeah, it has happened. It doesn't happen to me that much anymore because she's a teenager now. But when she was a little baby and a toddler, absolutely it happened. But I wanted to take another step forward and ask you guys. This is one surprise I didn't really think about until I became a father, or specifically a gay father, and that is how left out men are, or dads, gay or straight, out of the parenting conversation. Everything is about the moms. If you watch any commercial about a baby product, it's always, if the tagline is trusted by moms everywhere. It's like dads are just completely left out of it. At schools, the first thing they'll say is, "You need to get this signed by your mom," or something like that. And I think that needs to change. What do you all think about that?
Yeah, I agree, but I think that's rooted, and talking about our name, Gaytriarchs, that's rooted in the kind of patriarchy that the model the world has operated under for millennia. Right? Is that the moms are the ones who raise the kids, so they are the one to go to. Now, I feel like in the past 20, 30 years, that has totally changed. Where fathers aren't these just dopey sperm donors who go out and, club the jaguar over the head, drag him back home. So I think that's changing. But I think what you're experiencing, I totally agree. It's super annoying because I'm always like, "Yeah, hi, Dad." There's so many new moms groups in town where I'm like, I've asked to join. Can I join? I'm a gay dad, and they say no, it's for moms only. I understand the reason, But it's also like, I think we're starting to get out of that model where only moms raise the kids, thankfully.
It is push and pull you there, too, because I understand how moms do need to have their circle of to be able to talk about mom female stuff just the way that gay dads also, hey, if you have a gay dads group, you're not exactly going to say to a mom, especially a straight mom, sure, join us, because you're like, well, sister, we can go have our own drinks at another point. Like one of our, I feel like that's what GayTriarchs is all about, too. Like we're trying to bring in these conversations and show the different ways guys are doing also. I don't mean to just plug our show, but actually, like in Out North Texas, you're trying to change that narrative. We've had some really great guests that are, that demonstrate how, those narratives are being changed. Like one of our non-binary guests was MX Domestic, who happens to be a huge influencer in the knitting world, believe it or not. And they have a non-binary child, and they're putting themselves out there in an unconventional way because they have such an incredible following in the world of quilting and craft, which means they have a huge following in, like, how else do I say it? Like Midwestern moms who are absolutely crafters. And they are MX Domestic, who's just showing that, hey, you don't necessarily need to, have a mom in this situation. And they and their husband are changing the narrative. And then, another favorite guest we had was a guy named Jamie Grayson, who's a massive influencer in the baby sphere, what we like to call the baby industrial complex. And Jamie doesn't even have a child, but he is a specialist in baby gear, and boy, is he changing the narrative. And so
that's good.
We're all doing the best we can to change that.
See, what I would do if I had a kid and I was asked, are you taking over for mom tonight? And it wasn't assumed that I was a full parent. When they asked me about mom, I'd say, oh, she died. Just make the person feel. Just make the person feel terrible.
Humor that we welcome. We celebrate that dark humor and welcome it heartily, for sure.
We literally talk about that every day. One of my favorite stories was, I told you my sister-in-law carried our first child. So when she was pregnant, it was by her brother. And so we would joke about that. And so we were all getting family photos done, and the photographer was moving people around. And the photographer said to her, who's visibly pregnant, she's ready to pop. She goes, oh, do you want me to get a picture of you and your baby? And she just, without blinking, she goes, oh, this isn't mine. This is my brother's. And then and the blood drained from this poor photographer's face. You could tell she was still embarrassed. She goes, oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. And man, do I love something like that, where you just pull out, that's my brother's, and you just stop talking.
That is hilarious.
We had another hilarious guest who I believe she was a surrogate maybe 4 times, something like that. And her own daughter was in kindergarten or something like that. And the teacher said, oh, I hear your mom is having a baby. Are you so excited? She said, yeah, but she's probably just going to give this one away also.
Hey, the kid was being honest.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, honesty from the children, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk a little bit about your children. How do they have other friends, or have you all made a point to have them around other people, same-sex couples who have kids?
We try to make that effort, but honestly, this is another reason that David and I didn't even know each other and came together to start community, because, I live on a dirt road in Connecticut, and there are not a whole lot of gay dads around us. And then some also, there is another couple that are seasonal up here. And for so many years, they said, oh, Michael and Patrick. And we're like, why must we know Michael and Patrick? And then you could see the people's faces being like, oh, because all the gays know each other? I don't know. But they did have a child, and I will say that we had a cute little, I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but we had a cute little 4th of July parade here in this cute little quaint Connecticut town. And at the time, my partner and I were going back and forth, are we going to have kids or not? And he was a little bit more reticent. And so I was really trying to pull him in my direction. And then suddenly at the 4th of July parade, we saw that other couple, Michael and Patrick, pushing their newborn, and my partner hits me and he goes, "We are not the first, damn it!" And I thought, oh, I guess we will be parents at some point. That's great. But anyway, to come back to your point, we have to like be creative in creating our family out there and our tribe. But I think that David, let me pass it back over to him because I think he's been much more constructive about surrounding himself with lots of rainbow families.
It's much easier on the podcast because I can just edit out all of Gavin's ramblings and make it sound so much more dreamy. Unfortunately, being live on the air, you get to see the real Gavin Lodge. So, and also, I love how he's like, "Oh, I'm so poor." He lives in a place where there are seasonal residents. Do you guys hear that?
Oh my God!
Hear what this says?
Seasonal residents.
I'm fortunate that in our town are a few other gay parents, and I really do mean a few. Like, there's 3 that I know of. We are the only gay family at our school, which, if I'm being totally honest, is kind of great because in general, we're the stars. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
Social capitals. It's like we're the gay parents. But there's a town about 20 minutes south of us that has a big gay family community, and so I'll go to a lot of their events. They have sometimes dads only events, and then they have like family events where somebody will put a bounce house in their backyard, and that is so incredible to do because you go to these, it's just a bounce house full of screaming, snot-nosed children, but then it's like their gay dads, giving them juice and doing all the normal parenting things, and suddenly everyone's on the same playing field, and it is so cool. We just spent this past weekend at a campground that had a special gay families weekend. And it was the same thing where, when the kids would say, "Oh, my dad's this," it didn't pop out as kind of weird because, my kids have two dads. And so I like being a little bit of the special one, but not too special. It's like the Goldilocks zone of gay dads. You want to be kind of the token, but not, nobody yell like you.
Yeah. Absolutely. We belong to a couple of gay groups here locally in Dallas, and on, the beauty of social media, particularly Facebook, there's a gazillion different groups you can join for just about any topic or group you belong to. So there's ways to meet and socialize with other people.
We need to take a break. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM. Our guests are the Gaytriarchs, David Vaughn and Gavin Lodge. Their podcast can be found wherever you find podcasts. And we'll be back with more with them right after this.
This is Jamie Brains, host of Rock and Roll High School, that takes place every Saturday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on KNON Now, KNON's streaming station. Get ready to listen to a great selection of rock and roll from 50s roots to punk rock contemporaries. Visit KNON.org for more information and to listen to KNON Now.
This is Raphael McDonald from Resource Center, Dallas. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And we are talking to the Gaytriarchs. They recently recorded their 69th episode. How often does your podcast broadcast? Or
we used to release every week. We're actually, I think, in the 80s now as far as our episodes have come out. We've done that for now almost 2 years, and we just recently announced we're going to go weekly until the end of the year. We're Gavin and I have full-time jobs. We have busy lives, so we're just going to slow down just a hair until the end of the year, and then we're going to hopefully come back with new episodes every week. But yeah, right now we're bi-weekly.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking, we're on I figured out how many we had done. 1,400 and something. We've been on for 41 years now.
Yeah.
So we just celebrated our 41st anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
David,
congratulations,
David. There's older gay broadcasters than me.
Wow, who knew?
and who knew it would be in Texas, of all places, for it to be.
Right.
When the station went on the air, the station manager had asked a couple of people that he knew if they would like to do a gay show, and they said sure. And then they said, "A gay show? What is that?" Because it was 1983.
That can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Sure can.
So it developed into a talk show. Originally, it was a lot of music. So before the break, we were talking a little bit about joining gay groups. But what about services that you need, like schools and doctors? You're in New Jersey and Connecticut. It's a little bit more liberal than Texas. Little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
I know Lerone has talked about interviewing doctors before going to them, interviewing the school that his daughter goes to before enrolling her in that school. In the more liberal states, do you have to interview a doctor to make sure that he or she is going to give your kid good care?
I definitely think we live in a bubble, and it hurts my heart a little bit to hear about needing to take precautions like that. So kudos to you for being a pioneer in the state where you are. I've luckily never had that situation, but there have been. I mean, when we moved during COVID from New York City to Connecticut full time, and we did reach out to the principal in the local town to just make sure. Hey, are you going to be fine with us? Are you going to be fine with whatever identity our kids may bring? And we've been generally greeted with open arms. But I would say some of our guests have actually brought up some of the challenges that they've had and their concerns. And I think that's one of the things that's a privilege about our show, is to be able to bring all of the BS from across the country to a common platform, especially folks, friends of ours who we've interviewed who are in Texas and who are in Florida and who are fighting the good fight, I think, for visibility, because we can't all just pick up our lives and move just for the sake of politics, although sometimes we certainly want to. What about you, David?
I 100% did, and I've always made it. It's important to be overt about our gayness and our family because of that exact reason you're talking about. When we were interviewing pediatricians, there was one that wouldn't see us before the kid was born. We wanted to find one before they were born, and the reason we didn't go with them, even though they're the most recommended, was because we wanted to make sure that our gayness was not going to get in the way of their care. It probably won't, no matter where we go. But just that little side glance, just that little weirdness to me is enough for me not to feel comfortable there. And so we've been fortunate that we've never really run into any sort of big issues. We've had small issues here and there. But I think it's important that you should at least in your email say, hey, my husband and I this, just to make sure that it is on their radar in case there's any sort of issue, because your kid's the one to suffer. Listen, we've all been called the F slur a billion times, and to me, it just rolls off my back. But, you want to try to protect your kids from all that stuff. We were, I think, the first gay family at our pediatrician, and the only reason I guessed that is because when we initially did our intake forms, they were all mom and dad as far as the field to fill out. And then when our daughter was born, the forms had been updated to parent 1 and parent 2. Now, that's my ego talking. That is me. It's my newness and my uniqueness that changed that. But we have been the first gay family at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I want to say, tack on to David's ego there, it does remind me that so often we will say, as I want to charmingly roll my eyes at David and his ego, which is only surpassed by me and my ego, but we do love to be able to say, geez, gays, we're just as annoying as everybody else is. We're just as bad as annoying parents.
Absolutely.
I want to say, I did, you know what, this does remind me that, so my kids via surrogacy, we have the same carrier surrogate carrier who moved states in the meantime. So my daughter was born in Colorado, and then my son was born in Nevada. And in both cases, in Colorado, we were born in Colorado Springs, which is not a bastion of liberalism, that's for sure. And we came in, and the nurses, because my daughter was born a preemie and she was born a few weeks early, so we came in kind of under duress, and it was a stressful time, and the kid was in the NICU, yada, yada, yada. And the nurses really right in front of us were like, we don't know who to give the wristband to, and because the birth mother is the one with the band, and we're like, first of all, she's not the birth mother. Second of all, we already know her. She does not want a band. She doesn't need to be in here. Second of all, third of all, you just go ahead and give us both our wrist, whatever bracelets. And they just kind of followed our lead because we stayed calm and we were in control and we were telling them what was happening. And in that case, it was just a question of ignorance. They weren't being homophobic. They weren't trying to be jerks in the process. It was just new to them.
Yeah.
So it is our cross to bear that we have to be the ambassadors and
Absolutely.
frankly lead with love. And this is where we cue David to make fun of me talking about love and gratitude.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear my eyes rolling in the back of my skull, but that's generally what happens on our show.
Yeah.
But I fully agree. I think that, a lot of people want to be like, how dare they, how did they that? Well, listen, yeah, it sucks, but also they've never seen a gay family and they didn't know who to give the wristband to. It was really easy when it was just one mom, one dad. So I try to give a little bit of grace to these people. Both my kids were born in Portland, Oregon, and they were like, when we rolled in as two like cisgender white dads who are married, they rolled their eyes at us like, please, you're the least interesting people who have given birth today. So we were quite the opposite.
Yes, and to just capstone that, we love to give a lot of grace, and then we love to be able to come together and be catty little biatches. Can I say that on FM radio?
Yes.
And start a podcast to just complain about all of the parenting challenges. So yeah.
One of the things I love about being in a non-traditional relationship is you don't have to follow the rules and you kind of figure it out. I know a straight couple friend of mine where the dad refused to change the diapers. Like he said, and he's a great guy, but he just refused to change the diapers from day one when they had a baby. And so he's told my friend that's her job. And they kind of went through that child's entire baby and toddler stages with just her changing diapers. Well, we can't do that as a gay couple. We kind of got to figure it out. What about you all? Did you all figure it out? Who does the bottle feeding? Who changes the diapers? Or do you just kind of do a little bit of all of it, both you and your partner?
I feel like that, like we were referring to our previous conversation, that is why gays are, sorry, straight listeners who are listening, gays are just better than straight. And here's why. Because we have to constantly negotiate things. We have to talk things out. That's why we're always 10 years ahead culturally and sexually as far as relationship models from straight people. I love how straight people are all like, oh, open relationships. I'm like, baby, what are you talking about? We've been doing that for decades. But it's because we have to talk those things out. There is no default lane. There is no like, well, I guess mom has to do it because that's what mom should do.
Right.
So I think that's why we are kind of have superpowers. For us, luckily, my husband and I are pretty nicely matched in that the things he doesn't love don't bother me, and the things that bother me doesn't really, affect him. And one of the ones we bring up all the time was something about like liquids from the waist up turn my stomach in a way that I cannot even describe to you without my mouth starting to sour. Like a booger to me is death. Like that is death to me. However, like a completely like radiation soiled diaper for me is like nothing. I don't even think I'm like, great, let's clean it up. Let's wash this stuff up. And for him, it was the other way where he didn't mind, cleaning out ears or boogers or eye stuff. But a disgusting, mustard-filled diaper was just the end of the world. So we got really lucky. And the other thing I'll end my monologue on with how we decided to raise our infants, what we decided really quickly was that alternating bottles in the middle of the night was just miserable for everyone. The babies didn't like it. We didn't like it. Nobody got any sleep. So we decided to split the night in half. And we would choose a time, I think it was 2 a.m. And so one dad could go to bed and sleep till 2 a.m. unmoved. And that was great. And then at 2 a.m., he had to do all the feeding. And that saved us because we were such zombies. But having to negotiate that out and find out what works really well, I think just makes us better parents because as Gavin can attest and you can attest and all parents can attest, the challenges and the decision-making never stops coming. And if you have that experience of how to negotiate with your partner and make decisions real fast, then you're just ahead of the game. So I think we were lucky that when anything came up, same thing with like, who has the last name? What's the baby's last name? Is the boy baby going to be circumcised or not? These big questions, they have to happen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so we've been very fortunate to get through most of those unscathed.
That's funny. You said you all split the night. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, all of this comes down to communication, which is, again, I think a superpower where we have to negotiate everything. I mean, David, many times in the conversation and in our pod, have talked about how, like, we really do have to talk about everything, especially, like, in bed and in our relationships and what roles are people going to take. And the gender roles just fall away. But at the same time, I would say there's always kind of a frontline parent, or it's irrespective of gender, that one parent kind of is the yes parent and the other one is the no parent. And then sometimes I have many times found myself in a marital dispute with my partner sounding like we're a sitcom, a traditional sitcom where I'm the mom and he's the dad, or vice versa. And you just are thinking, this is hilarious that even in a non-traditional situation, you still can find yourself in completely cliche, archaic conversations of roles and responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Savage famously said, gay men can't just default into an assumption when a man and a woman go to bed. If nobody says anything, we all kind of know what's going to happen, right? But two gay men can't. They have to say the magical words, what are you into, or, what position are you, or whatever. So from the get-go, we as gay men kind of have to be talking and saying things to each other, and I think that's where it began.
Yeah.
By the way, if Dan Savage is listening to this, we can't wait for him to call in and be part of the conversation.
Now, here's where us people without the parenting gene come in. When the diaper's dirty, I know Patty would have done this, and I certainly would. We'd just tell the kid to change it himself. So.
It's funny with the diaper situation. I've always heard this growing up. I don't know if you all heard this. When you change a diaper, it's different when it's your own kid. No matter how gross it is, it's different when it's your own kid. I can't tell you how many diapers I've changed with nephews and nieces, and I hated it. I do not like changing diapers. But when it came to my daughter, it was just like, this is no big deal. It's got to be done. I wasn't grossed out. Maybe a couple of times I was grossed out. But, for the most part, it was my kid. I just I had to get it done.
We talk about on the show all the time OPKs, which are other people's kids.
Oh,
and we talk about how your kid can do something and it's charming, but when a stranger's kid does it, it's annoying and infuriating. And how dare they? And where are their parents? And we my husband is famously just, I don't know why the kids, when we go to a playground, kids just ask him to play. They're like, chase us. And he always goes like, these kids are the worst human beings on the planet. But if my kid did that, I was like, oh, he's just sweet. He's just asking me to play. So it's the same with diapers. Like, yeah, our kid's diaper, who cares? But I'm not touching that person's diaper. That's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this definitely reminds me of another tenet of Gaytriarchs, is that I would say David and I are nothing if not complete hypocrites. Because as a parent, you look at other kids and you think, why isn't my child doing exactly that? But then when you have those kids over to your house, you think, oh my God, I hate all children except my own. And, we try never to be consistent in any of our philosophy whatsoever, and we would absolutely undermine everything we've said here in our next interview, where we say exactly the opposite. But
we are just about out of time.
Yeah.
One of the things from your press release that I wanted to ask you about, and we can just do this quickly. You said you are gay male parents, but you've had on lesbians, trans people, and straight people. What advice have the straight people who've been on your show given you?
Nothing ever. We've never learned anything from them. We just do a favor having them on.
It's We try to. It's our diversity initiative. We try to get as many straight people on just to please them. Honestly, we're kind of doing it as a favor. We're holding their hand. We're saying nice things. But like, all kidding aside, that is what, as any parent knows, that is what's so amazing about parenting. It's the great unifier. You start telling I had a blowout in public and no light story, and every parent, you guys are all on the same page. And so I think all of the annoyances, all of the tips and tricks and hacks, they're all the same because you're all raising children. I think a lot of it changes a little bit on the outskirts about, like, you know, your personal lives and how you interact socially. But when it comes to, like, changing that kid's diaper, there's kind of just one way.
Yeah.
Well, David and Gavin, I want to thank you for being with us.
This has been fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
And
it's a delight to be on the other side of the microphone. Thanks for having us.
And your podcast can be found. Is there one place?
Everywhere Barack Obama's podcast is found. On Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah.
Great.
And on our website, we do have GaytriarchsPodcast.com.
Thank you for being with us. For all of us here at Lambda Weekly, have a good week.